A miscarriage of justice.
You're damn right, buddy.
Florida State gets left out of the college football playoff. Our beloved Seminoles, led by our beloved Mike Norvell. It broke my heart to see him there yesterday. Of course, they've got the video cameras in the room with the entire team, and they're about to announce the college football playoff, and they leave Florida State out, and he is just there in absolute stunned disbelief. And you had some scathing statements made by both the athletic director at Florida State and Mike Norvell himself, both of which were 100% warranted. And I said my piece online on Twitter after this happened. I was like, look, this is not about whether or not you think they are one of the 4 best teams in the country. This is about the fact that they didn't lose a game. End of story. So you can do the whole, like, these teams are all comparable. No, they're not. They didn't lose. Like, we've sold that bill of goods forever.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do the 4 best, there's all kinds of teams that wouldn't have been in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Bill Conley listed a ton of them today. TCU in 2022, 2001 Cincinnati, 2018 and 19 Oklahoma, 2015 Michigan State, even 2014 Florida State. The committee has included plenty of teams that were in no way among the 4 best teams in the country.
Yes.
We sell them the bill of goods that if they don't lose and they win all their games, assuming they're in one of the power conferences, and and this team scheduled LSU on a neutral and boat raced them.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, you are then telling them, hey, sorry, your quarterback broke his leg.
Yeah. He shouldn't have broke his leg.
That those games don't matter. And the best thing is, it's the best statement they made was, you turned into prognosticators. That's the problem here. The problem is because there is a standard in which we have set that this is how you make it. And I just listed, there's all kinds of teams that have it. P.S. You know how many teams have not had their starting opening day quarterback and then went on and won? 2014 Ohio State did it. 2017 Oklahoma or Bama did it. 2018 Clemson did it. 2021 Georgia did it. That's 44% of the time you haven't had the guy that was your starter. Now you could say, well, we saw it and Tate Rodemaker wasn't good enough. Like, give him a month. Yeah. Give the guy a month. Yeah. It's not fair to become a prognosticator in this because they told us who the best teams were a week ago. They told us Georgia was the best team, and Georgia lost. They told us Oregon is a 9-point favorite. 9-point favorite on a neutral against Washington. And they lost. Yep. You know? Auburn got destroyed by New Mexico State. And you can make all the excuses in the world. Like, all we have to go by is results. They got destroyed by New Mexico State, and Bama needed an absolute miracle to beat them a week ago. Florida State, meanwhile, when they lost Jordan Travis, they went and played Florida. They held them to 80 yards less than anyone on their entire schedule did all year. Then they turned around and they played against Louisville. And you could say, well, they only have 55 yards passing. Like, yeah, their third-string quarterback that had a week to prepare, right? Louisville had 300 yards and 4.8 yards per play. That was their lowest output of the entire season. They had less than 190 yards and 2 yards a play against Florida State. So they turned from what was a team that was, right, like well-balanced and the offense was great, to a team that had to turn it up defensively and just strangle you out. And they did. By the way, they have more passing yards in the last 2 weeks than Michigan does.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody debated Michigan.
That is.
So what are we doing? Are we talking about the performances or not?
Yeah, that was the thing to me. If you line up, if you go, but there's so much of this that is narrative. What is the driving narrative? Dude, Florida State's undefeated season is more impressive than Michigan's.
Look,
it 100%.
You won every single game you played.
And you've sold this forever that what happens on the field is what matters. So this whole what would they say? What's the argument then? The argument is you lost the game. That's always been the argument for 25 years.
But the truth is,
we're not. All right, now you're in a different category. No, here's the truth. The truth is the worst thing that ever happened to Florida State was that Bama played Texas. That's the truth. Because they would have left Texas out.
yes.
Yeah, but they
I'm
couldn't
glad
leave
you
them out
see
because
this.
They would have left Texas out,
beat
but
Bama.
they
Yes.
couldn't.
No, they couldn't.
They couldn't.
Yes.
Everybody knows. Anybody that tells you any different
Yes.
is full of shit.
This was not an Alabama-Florida
it
State
wasn't.
thing.
No.
It was Texas-Florida
it was,
State.
but they
Yes.
couldn't do it.
They couldn't
they
do
couldn't.
it.
They couldn't do it.
Yes.
They couldn't do it.
The
'Cause they
SEC
couldn't
champion
take
was getting
Bama.
in.
They couldn't take Bama and not take Texas.
Yes.
Because Texas beat them.
And
Right.
the SEC
So the
champion
easy
is
thing to
getting
do
in.
was
Yes.
to bump out the one and then come up with the excuse, oh, your quarterback got hurt, sorry.
Yep.
So the whole why do they deserve to get to play for it? Because they didn't lose a game. That's why.
Yes.
That's why. The other teams
13.
lost the game, and the only reason anybody worth their, everybody knows deep down that if Alabama didn't lose to Texas, we're not talking about this. The debate is between one losses. That's the debate. Because if you want to do the prognostication thing, if you want to say, look, what happens on the field does not matter as much as what we think will happen on the field. That's what that says.
Yes.
That's what that says. What happens on the field is not as important as what we think will happen if you do play in it.
That's crazy.
And that's what's messed up about this.
Yes.
Because that's not right to look. There's a whole bunch of other kids. I mean, to see that kid tweeting out, I wish I would have broken my leg earlier, is madness. And let them get a game plan. Let them have a month with their backup quarterback, which, by the way, 44% of the time, the team that does not have their opening day starter is the one that ended up winning the thing. So teams change quarterbacks all the time. And you're going to judge it on one game, which they won, by the way. They won the game.
Wins
At the Swamp, no less.
Wins should matter, bro.
And they covered. Like, they won that. And so to take that away from them, to strip that from them, and it is 100% because Texas beat
It is.
Bama.
It is. I thought the
That's
more
why.
and more I thought about it yesterday, I was like, there's too much debating if it's Alabama, Florida State. It's not in
I
Alabama.
know.
It was Texas and Florida State.
Yeah.
Because we know if Georgia beat Bama, it's Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Texas in the playoff.
Yes.
The SEC champion was getting in. They just
getting
were the SEC champions getting in. So then it's Texas and Florida State, and Texas beat Bama. So Texas
they couldn't
goes
leave
in.
them out.
And they
Bumped out
have to
Florida
put.
State.
The question was: is Texas 3 or is Florida State 3? Bama's in at 4.
Because
Who's
here's the
3?
thing, and I agree. I was reading Bill Conley earlier today, and one of the things he said was, honestly, the committee should have just committed to their logic and ranked Florida State 7th or 8th.
Yes.
Because Georgia would be a favorite over them.
Yeah.
Ohio State would be a favorite over that. Like, bump them down all the way.
It's true.
Yeah,
They
don't
do.
put them 5.
They do what they want to do.
Even the
They
Georgia
do.
thing.
They bumped them out just enough so that they wouldn't have to be in the playoff.
Yeah.
But why not commit to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, now we're deciding how good you are. We know you haven't lost. We know. But this is how good we think you are. And again, you could say, the whole idea is to get the 4 best teams.
That's the case. Georgia
Like-
should have been in probably.
Yeah, Georgia's
Georgia's probably one of the 4 best teams in the.
Nobody argues with that, right?
Yes.
And I
And they're like
listed you
8th.
5 different teams that no one would have argued was one of the 4 best that year.
Yeah.
But we all have this understanding. Yo, at Michigan State, right? Like they won the Big Ten and they did this and they got to get in. Like that's the way it works. That's the way it works.
And the craziest thing about all of it,
no one has ever argued that, by the way. Like to say, oh, the undefeated team shouldn't be in there, and the one-loss team should be in there because, like, unless it was somebody from a non-Power 5 conference. Yeah. But if you played Clemson on the road and you played LSU and you played all these teams, like you can't sit there and say, well, sorry, they didn't. They lost their quarterback. We don't think they'd be that good.
That's crazy.
Like, let the kid have a month.
Let Norvell prepare, bro. Let him
have a month. And you're never going to convince me that Florida State would get wrecked by Michigan. You'll never convince me.
No.
I watch Michigan.
I watch Michigan too. They're not. They're
not world beaters.
They do not. And the craziest thing about all of this, or not the craziest thing, but literally the ACC and the Pac-12 are the reasons that we don't have an expanded playoff this year. They wanted to push it back a year. And the other thing that's insane is that the head of the playoff committee, the chairman of it, is the AD at NC State.
What an asshole.
You're literally the AD at an ACC school, and you just I would get.
That's because Florida State wants out.
Yeah.
They just destroyed their
I
conference.
feel bad for Norvell because he
destroyed
left Memphis because he wanted to, you know what I'm saying, like kind of broaden the horizon. He broadened the horizon,
And
13-0.
yes.
Florida State.
David Hale wrote the following on ESPN. We moved to a better system, one that determined in part by computers, at least added some math to the abstract rationalization when we just had to do voting at the end of the year, right? Then we moved to a 14 playoff. The whole point was to eliminate hypotheticals and let the champion be crowned by actual results on the field. If you won your games, you had a chance at winning, playing for a national championship. Turns out all of that was a charade. None of that mattered. The games are pointless. What happened on the field is less important than what the committee thinks might happen in the future. It's a slap in the face to every player who's ever put on a helmet, laced up cleats, or marched onto a field for a victory. Because a bunch of folks in a conference room in Texas decided to sacrifice decided their sacrifice was not as important as a Las Vegas line on a potential matchup. It said, yes, Florida State's without Jordan Travis, meaning you'd have to play with the quarterback who wasn't its opening week starter in order to win the national title. But that couldn't happen. After all, only 2014 Ohio State, 2017 Alabama, 2018 Clemson, 2021 Georgia did that. What are the odds something that's happened 44% of the time would happen again? And sure, Florida State's passing game was a mess in the ACC championship. No argument. Funny thing is, they won their title game by more than Alabama did. In fact, they won their last 2 games by more than Alabama did. And since Travis got hurt, the Seminoles have thrown for 8 fewer yards than Michigan, but there's no debate about Michigan. Oh, this is probably irrelevant in the face of such poor quarterback performance against Louisville. But there's also the small matter that the quarterback that started the game, Brock Glenn, would not be the same. The committee cared about one stat when making their decision: Florida State's passing yards against Louisville. And let's be honest about what happened. The committee members couldn't leave out the SEC. They didn't care that Bama needed a miracle to avoid a loss to 6-6 Auburn. They didn't care that Georgia had their injuries, Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers, that likely played a part in Bama winning on Saturday. They didn't care that the ACC has a winning record head-to-head against the SEC.
Yeah.
They didn't care that Bama beat 2023 Georgia, not Georgia from 2021 or 2022. They cared that Alabama and the SEC have to have a spot in the playoff by birthright. And as a result, they sent a message that what happened on the field is less important than what gets the most compelling TV matchup. And well said. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair.
It's not.
No,
It is not.
And this whole the committee goes. I heard Gary saying the committee. Look, this is the criteria that they have. Like you blew right past the fact that we've been doing this for years.
Yeah. We've
been doing this for years. They're the only one that's ever got left out. And don't tell me they're the only one without their quarterback, because I just listed you 4 national champions that didn't have the quarterback. It's effed up, man. And here's where you know it's effed up. If Florida State gets in, okay? If Florida State gets in and one of the other ones left out, who do you feel worse telling that they're not in it? Who? You've got reasons the other ones aren't in it.
Yeah. You have real reasons.
Real reasons.
Yeah.
So you
And
lost.
if they would have lost without Jordan Travis,
Cool.
they're out.
Cool. You
Cool.
out. Yeah.
But they didn't. And they gave up less than 200 yards. Like, you still have to move the ball. Like, they turned into a ball control defensive team. And you can win like that.
You should get more
sometimes.
points for that, for being able to evolve on the fly.
Evolved on the fly.
Yeah.
I feel terrible. For them. I do. I
Yeah,
feel
man.
terrible. For
Here's
them.
the video of the late great Mike Leach talking about. Have you heard this?
Oh yeah,
It's-
from 17.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
me.
we're not.
Oh, you know what?
It's 20 minutes long.
No, it's like a 50-second clip. It's like 50 seconds. I'm not using
He described. I mean,
Yeah.
we played it a lot of times. Mike Leach describing how every
The
other
committee.
place does it.
the committees and how. Yeah, sure. Let's get this committee, and then this committee's going to tell us it's
Screw committees.
They did. They
They
got
screwed
it.
Norvell.
Anybody, if you want to be honest with yourself, you know very well that if Bama didn't play Texas, this isn't even an argument.
Yeah,
It's not.
It's not.
It's not an argument.
Florida State's in, and
Once
Texas
you're
is not.
honest with yourself and you accept that, then you can only come to one conclusion. You know very well that if Texas didn't beat Bama, we're not having this discussion.
No. If Alabama plays Texas State that
They
week and not
couldn't
Texas.
not consider that.
Yeah. If Alabama plays
Gotta get the
Texas
SEC in
State
there,
that
man.
week and not Texas,
Right.
Gotta have the SEC in there.
it's
They couldn't leave Texas out.
they could not leave
couldn't.
Texas
They
out.
would
No.
have.
No,
They
they would have.
screwed the Big 12 before.
Because they would have
and
said
they're leaving.
Well, they would've
so
said you
nobody
lost
would have
to-
promoted them.
And they would have said you lost to Oklahoma. You
And-
lost a game to Oklahoma.
And you can say, so that would have been a whole nother bag of crap. Because then you would have said, like, if they leave Texas out, right? They would have said, hold the phone. What would everybody be saying? They beat Bama.
Yeah.
If somebody's getting that spot, it has to be them. You told us head-to-head mattered. You told us that. And so they didn't want that.
Yeah.
They didn't want that. That it was going to be easier for them to defend and just say, you know what? We don't think you're going to be that good in a month.
Yeah.
And Vegas says you're not going to be that good. And what I mean, I don't care what a point spread is against Georgia. Those kids are done. And for here's the other thing: you can't do this to teams. You can't do this to teams. If you go and tell all those kids, like, hey, look, you had a chance at the playoff, but I mean, we lost to Oklahoma or we lost to Texas or whatever, right? Like, kind of the rules of engagement here.
Yeah.
You understand? You're trying to recruit kids, and you're gonna tell them that, like, hey, it's not gonna matter if you win every game.
Yeah.
It is such a
That's-
horrible standard to set.
It is, and it is
Such a horrible standard to set.
It
That
is-
you
it-
don't. It doesn't matter.
Well, it is looking more and more like it if you look at it. And I've said it that 5 to 10 years, if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you're not.
Hey, look, y'all. Next
it's
year
not
we're
going to
good.
matter.
We got 12-team playoff coming.
A 12-team playoff will help some of this, but
Yeah,
look at the 4 teams in it this year. That's the SEC and the Big Ten. Washington's in the Big Ten, and Texas is going to be in the SEC.
So here's the thing, and that's why I say, like, when I was talking about they just put them right on the outside. Like, for anybody that says, like, hey, look, they're not good enough. They might not be. They might not be, right? Why didn't the committee just commit to that then? And say, you know what? You're not. You're just not good enough.
Because here's the truth.
Like, bro, where are they then?
Because here's the
Where
truth.
should they be ranked?
Well, here's the other thing, too. If it was a 12-team playoff, Bro, they are not dropping to number 5. They're going to stay at 4. They're going to move up to 3 because the committee doesn't care because,
Right.
oh, yeah, well, they're going to be
They're
in.
As long as they're in.
They're-
yeah.
And
Yeah,
everybody
they're in,
knows.
so
Look, bro,
whatever.
if Texas didn't beat Bama, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah.
I wish Bama
End
didn't
of
beat
story.
Georgia because I wouldn't have had to deal with this either.
Yeah.
I wish Georgia would have just stood on business. Then we could have had Georgia and Florida State.
Well, you and I both made money on it because we woke up Sunday morning and we're like, wait, we're like, the SEC champion is getting in.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dollars, man.
And they were plus money, so.
Cash
that was-
rules everything around.
We knew.
Yeah, we knew.
We knew.
We live
That's
in
a
this part of
really
the
sad
country.
video.
The SEC
Huh?
doesn't
That
get.
video that you just showed of them,
Norvell
like,
looking sad.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was sad.
Tar-
Hey, look at my guy in the
The
blue hoodie. Hey,
players,
play the video.
that was
Watch my guy in the
sad.
blue hoodie in the back. He said, "Yeah, I'm not staying for no meeting, bro."
The guy putting the hat over his. Oh,
Yeah, play the. Y'all got the
That's
video. Play that
heartbreaking.
Makes
joint.
you sick.
I guess I
Yeah,
got the-
it's
Look
yeah.
at my guy in the back. My guy in the blue hoodie. Look at him. Look at him. He
he's
said, "Yeah,
done.
bro."
yeah, he's devastated.
He said, "Yeah, I ain't staying for no meeting, bro. I'm out of here." I feel you. He looks.
You
sad.
have to tell them that their results didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yep. After all year, you told them, produce on the field, win games,
And they win
and then you have to sit
every
there
game.
And they
and
won every game.
They won
Tell them.
every game.
So
man.
There's nothing they can do.
the whole like,
everything.
if we're lining it all up, like, bro, you have always gotten the benefit of the doubt if you're undefeated.
And they have absolutely opened the door. The college football playoff they've opened the door for this. If Florida State does beat Georgia, and I'm not going to be surprised Norvell has those guys hyped up, and you get the game of their life. No, but the AP could vote them number 1. The Associated Press could vote them number 1 at the end of the season and have a split national championship.
Bro.
Like that can happen.
I'm scared. I'm scared for next year because now Norvell's gonna beat the shit out of everybody next year. We play them next
We
year.
play
As he
them
should.
next year. We do.